Well, good evening. A district court judge today ruled there is prima facie evidence against the 3 Occupy Central co-founders and 6 others in their public nuisance trial. Sharon Tang has our top story.
Days after the trial began and witnesses were called by the prosecution to testify, the judge ruled today there is a prima facie case against the 9 defendants. Co-founders of the Occupy Central movement, Benny Tai, Chen Kin-man and Chu Yu-ming, and 6 others all pleaded not guilty to charges related to public nuisance. Chen was the only defendant who made his own defense today. He admitted that the trio did publish articles with regard to Occupy Central with Love and Peace in 2013 in hopes of arousing the public's attention to social injustice. Senior counsel Gerard McCoy, who represents the 9 defendants, asked Chen why he chose to defend the case by pleading not guilty. Chen explained he considers some of the charges unreasonable, adding that he wouldn't have done so otherwise. The court also heard that the trio met top government officials in July 2014. Chen stressed that when they expressed that elections should be genuine, the then Undersecretary for Constitutional Affairs Lau Kong-wah repeatedly accused them of being radical. The then Chief Secretary for Administration Carrie Lam also demanded an end to the movement. Chen noted the meeting only lasted less than an hour and the authorities had made no arrangements for further talks with them since then. According to Chen, it was only until the end of August 2014 that the trio decided to move on from dialogue to civil disobedience. That's after the National People's Congress Standing Committee made its decision on Hong Kong's 2017 election framework. Chen will continue to testify in tomorrow's hearing. Sharon Tang, TVB News.
The Office of the Privacy Commissioner for Personal Data has launched a compliance check on consumer credit reporting agency TransUnion. This comes after reports of security loopholes on the company's website. The company has suspended all online consumer credit report services in Hong Kong until further notice. Haley Joe has more.
When you apply for a credit card or a loan in Hong Kong, your credit report is put together by a private company, TransUnion, and peddled to banks. TransUnion is the only consumer credit reporting agency in the city. But a local newspaper claimed its reporters were able to bypass identity checks on TransUnion's website and access the files of public figures by using their personal information found in company registrations. Among the files were those of Chief Executive Carrie Lam and Financial Secretary Paul Chan. If true, it means a whole lot of people's private data is at risk, as this US-based company stores records of more than 1 billion customers globally and 5.4 million in Hong Kong. A credit report includes sensitive information ranging from an individual's borrowing and repayment history to phone number and addresses. The Monetary Authority said TransUnion's credit information service is not under its regulation. An IT sector legislator said the procedure to request personal credit information on TransUnion's website was too easy and unreliable.
In many jurisdictions, personal data should belong to the person himself or herself, and it should not be used for profit or for other purpose to be shared or sold by third parties. But in Hong Kong, there seems to be a lack of sufficient regulation in this regard.
Meanwhile, TransUnion said it has beefed up its security measures by informing the affected people, freezing their accounts, and enhancing security questions. It said a very limited number of people were affected by this incident, but refused to confirm the exact number. It also denied the alleged data breach. Instead, it accused the newspaper of illegally using personal data to access other people's credit files. On this, the Privacy Commissioner Stephen Wong said news gathering may be exempted from the city's privacy law if it's in the public interest. Haley Zhou, TVB News.
More families have applied to buy subsidised flats, now lowered to about half the market price. Ballots were drawn today for the latest batch under the home ownership scheme after it received a record-breaking 272,000 applications.
係300
It's like a game of bingo, only that it could affect your chances of becoming a homeowner. If you're one of 272,000 who applied to buy a subsidized flat, you might want to check the last 2 digits on your application form. The higher the numbers are on this computer-generated list, the sooner the Housing Authority will vet your eligibility for a home ownership scheme flat. The latest batch of over 4,400 such units are spread out in Tongchong, Kai Tak and Changsha Wan. All are now sold at 52% of the market price instead of the earlier 70%.
That has basically attracted quite a number of families who did not submit their application before. And therefore, for this round of HOS sales, we are seeing there have been a slight upward adjustment in terms of the application from the families vis-a-vis the singletons. Roughly about 55% of the application are actually due to the singleton applications.
The cheapest studio apartment on offer this time is located in Tongchong at just under $1.2 million. The priciest one will cost over $4.6 million. Competition is stiff, especially between white form applicants who make up over 80% of all applicants this time. Yet only half of the HOS flats are available to these people in private housing below a certain income and asset level. The rest are reserved for public housing tenants looking for an upgrade. Come February, eligible applicants will get a chance to select their ideal flat. Take note though, new restrictions mean owners can only sell their flats in the open market 5 years after purchase.
At the end of his state visit to Spain, President Xi Jinping promised that China would widen market access to foreign investors and step up protection of intellectual property rights. All this comes as Xi prepares to meet US President Donald Trump in a potentially bruising encounter at the G20 summit in Buenos Aires. President Xi Jinping is on a charm offensive ahead of this weekend's G20 summit in Argentina, where trade between China and the US will loom large over proceedings. An official dinner hosted by Spanish royals King Felipe and Queen Letizia seemed a fitting way to end his 2-day state visit to Spain before the president heads to South America. The visit was designed to show that China is a responsible trading partner and willing to open its doors to outside investors. Xi also promised greater protection for intellectual property rights for foreign companies. He said China wants to provide wider access to foreign products, importing $10 trillion worth of goods over the next 5 years. This includes opening access to Spanish businesses and goods. In his meeting with Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez, the two leaders presided over the signing of around 20 government and business agreements. This included a deal to export on-the-bone legs of Iberian ham to the Chinese market. The ceremonies, speeches, meetings and deal-making also carried deeper significance as China looks to shore up support for its position amid its damaging trade war with the United States. In a speech to lawmakers in Spain, Xi said the world is facing instability, uncertainty and hot topics without precedent in our history. In a veiled attack of the Trump administration's policies of America First and economic nationalism, Xi said the world needed to decide if it is going to follow the path of globalization and the free market or choose unilateralism and protectionism. During 2018, China and the US have leveled a series of tariffs on hundreds of billions of dollars of imports from one another. Both Xi and Trump are expected to meet for talks over dinner Saturday evening in Buenos Aires.
The US Senate opted to move forward with legislation calling for an end to US involvement in the Saudi-led war in Yemen. The bipartisan 63-37 vote sends a strong signal that they want to punish Saudi Arabia for its involvement in the murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi. Alan Boknia reports.
The vote is not only a rebuke to Saudi Arabia, but also to the Trump administration, which has made it clear it does not want to torpedo the long-standing relationship with Saudi Arabia. Jamal Khashoggi, who lived in self-exile in the U.S., was critical of Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Reports say the CIA believes the prince ordered Khashoggi's murder. U.S. Defense Secretary Jim Mattis, who along with Secretary of State Mike Pompeo addressed the Senate, said there is no direct evidence to that effect.
We have no smoking gun that the Crown Prince was involved, not the intelligence community or anyone else.
If not,
but several Republicans were not satisfied with that and were willing to break with Trump to express their deep dissatisfaction with the president's response.
I don't have a smoking gun, but what I do know is that he is responsible for this agency that carried out the killing.
We cannot delay voting to end our involvement and our support of Saudi Arabia any further. If we do, we have ourselves to blame for our country's lost credibility on the world stage. And more importantly, our own consciences will bear the blame for the thousands of lives that will surely continue to be lost.
Following the vote, some senators expressed anger over the...
知唔知我中意你啲咩？
中意我揾到你嘅心水酒店？酒店？
唔係啊！
死未？
咦，你今日啲皮膚好似好好咁嘅。
平時差唔多啫嘛。
唔係，唔得，我要帶你 Ipsa check 下先。
透明感高我好多喎。
係喎，都話我靚㗎啦。
費事睬你，呢支啱我。
呢支先最啱我。
世上只有我最啱你嘅啫，我用完之後透明感一定好好。
睇下點？
The fact that Madison Pompeo were sent to address them rather than CIA Director Gina Haspel.
Tells me volumes about what really is going on here. Because Gina Haspel, if all of the accounts are true, would have said with a high degree of confidence that in fact the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia was involved in the murder of Jamal Khashoggi.
U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said the resolution is poorly timed because there is a process underway for ceasefire talks.
Passing a resolution at this point undermines that. It would encourage the Houthis, it would encourage the Iranians, it would undermine the fragile agreement for everyone to go to Sweden and have this discussion.
The procedural vote sets up a floor debate on the resolution next week. Alan Brooknia, TVB News.
U.S. Democrats nominated Nancy Pelosi to be Speaker of the House of Representatives when they take control in January. Pelosi made history as the first woman to hold the post from 2007 to 2011. The final tally from the internal Democratic caucus vote was 203 to 32. That puts her within range of 218 threshold needed to be Speaker. Pelosi is attempting the rare feat of securing the Speaker's gavel for a non-consecutive term.
And let us just take a moment to dwell upon the fact that we are in the majority. And that is a great thing for the American people. We have been deputized to be a check and balance on the president and the other branches of government. We are a co-equal branch of government. My power there springs from the vote of the members of the House of Representatives. I think that the president will be respectful of that.
Britain's opposition Labour Party is putting pressure on Prime Minister Theresa May to change some of the terms of the Brexit deal she negotiated with the European Union. Labour thinks if the current package is tweaked, it could increase the odds of Parliament voting for the deal. This comes as the head of the Bank of England warned about the dangers of Britain leaving without a deal.
Evidence from surveys and other UK authorities suggests that the country is not yet fully prepared for a cliff-edge Brexit. Surveys suggest that less than half of businesses have initiated contingency plans for no deal, and less than a fifth of small businesses have done so. Up to 250,000 traders have never completed a customs declaration. 11 of 12 major projects to replace key border systems are at risk of not being delivered by March 29, 2019. Securing an implementation period will minimize the impacts on the UK economy.
Martial law is now in effect in Ukrainian provinces vulnerable to attack from Russia. Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko donned battle fatigues as tensions ratcheted up following Russia's seizure of 3 Ukrainian ships in the Kerch Strait near the Black Sea on Sunday. Poroshenko says Russia is preparing for an invasion. The Kremlin says it's a political stunt by an unpopular president facing tough elections. Speaking in Switzerland, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said there's documented proof that the Ukrainian ships did violate Russia's sea border. 24 Ukrainian sailors, have been ordered detained for almost 2 months as they await trial on charges of trespassing Russia's maritime border. Scientists are hoping to verify claims of genetically edited babies that dominated an international summit held in Hong Kong. While ethical concerns lingered, the event organizers stressed it was important for He Jiankui, the Shenzhen-based scientist involved in the gene editing, to explain his work, even though the organizing committee expressed disgust.
We heard an unexpected and deeply disturbing claim that human embryos had been edited and implanted, resulting in a pregnancy and the birth of twins. We recommend an independent assessment to verify this claim and to ascertain whether the claimed DNA modifications have occurred. Even if the modifications are verified, the procedure was irresponsible and failed to conform with international norms. Its flaws include an inadequate medical indication, a poorly designed study protocol, a failure to meet ethical standards for protecting the welfare of research subjects, and a lack of transparency in the development, review, and conduct of the clinical procedures.
He Jiankui made his first public appearance yesterday since announcing he created the world's first genetically edited babies. He earlier explained the intention was to protect the girls from the virus that causes AIDS, as their father is HIV positive. And the travel industry will be getting a new watchdog with the passing of the Travel Industry Bill in LegCo. The new Travel Industry Authority will consist of mostly non-trade members. It will oversee the licensing and regulating of travel agents, guides and tour escorts. It will take over the duties of the Travel Agents Registry and the Travel Industry Council. Even online travel agents that promote business in Hong Kong will have to obtain a license from the new body, but there's no date yet for its establishment. And that's all from the team for now.